Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show, Saturday, August 19th, and we are live here at News Talk 830 WCCO every Saturday for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Mr. Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering of the WE team, the Minnesota Real Estate team, Remax Advantage Plus. My name is Ryan O'Neill with the Minnesota Real Estate team and Remax Advantage Plus. Good morning to everybody. As you can see, we are live in the CCO studio. This is our third show, I believe, and it's fun to be here. We're excited to be on CCO. You're always welcome to join us by questions, comments, thoughts. Anytime throughout the show, you can comment on the social media feed. Happy to chat with you at any point. And again, it's 612-294-6949, how you can join us by phone or text. Scott, good morning to you, buddy. Good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Yep, good to be here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Ryan said, this is our third time on WCCO. We've been doing this for about 16, 17 years. Do welcome your comments during the show, 612-294-6949. You can call the show and come on live. We love that. Or you can text us. Or you can just write it in on the feed, and we'll handle it as it comes in. We love it. It keeps it interactive. It keeps it kind of moving. We're going to hit everything from a real estate perspective, a mortgage perspective, and put our little hats on to see if we can tell you what's going to happen at the end of the year here.
Yeah, also in studio, as you can see with us, Brad Sanford, Farmers Insurance. Brad is a longtime partner with our show, all things insurance related. Again, if you go to mnrealestateshow.com, there you can see all of our great partners with the show. Brad, good morning. Great to have you, buddy.
Did you say Sunday because this is a telethon? We're here all day.
I know. You are. We got you here. You'll be filling in.
I'm running the telethon.
Josh is in studio with us, so you're going to be here. You could do it, though.
I'll do it. Telethon. You got it.
You could keep it.
Yeah, could you imagine doing 24 hours of real estate? I mean, you could probably do it, but it would get pretty stale.
What would we talk about after a while? But there is a lot going on in the market. Today is Scott was just saying, I think it's going to be like record heat, he said.
I think it's 105 heat index, and I don't remember what the humidity numbers are, but it is definitely a day to get in the pool, or if you're a PGA guy, watch the PGA, which is what I'll be doing. I don't do 110 degrees outside.
Yeah. And again, first segment of the show here, we're getting ready to go live very soon. We always do a real estate update, mortgage update, real estate, just to give you a little snapshot what's going on in the Twin Cities here. We're excited to be on WCCO here and back on Saturdays again. We've done the show a long time, mostly on Saturdays over the years, and have received a lot of good feedback. People hearing us on CCO, longtime listeners, some new folks. Brad, you're a CCO guy, I know?
Yes, absolutely.
You were listening, I think, the first show. You texted in, and
yeah, I always listen. And my parents, they can hear it on 8:30 now. They're excited.
Where are they at?
Down in Rochester.
Oh, so all right, here we go, guys. We're going live on air. News Talk 830 WCCO. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us anytime throughout the show. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show, Saturday, August 19th, here live at News Talk 830 WCCO every Saturday morning for the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We are a live show, and we are local here in the Twin Cities. We have done this show for over 15 years here in the Metro. Very excited to be with our friends here at WCCO. And it is an interactive show. So as we're kind of talking throughout the show itself, don't hesitate to join us. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us by phone or text. It comes right to the studio, 612-294-6949. The show is hosted by Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill of the Minnesota Real Estate team. Remax Advantage Plus. Happy to be here. And Scott, top of the morning to you.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks everybody for joining us. If this is your first time, since we're new here to WCCO, we appreciate it. Like Ryan said, we are live and local every Saturday from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Love your feedback, love your comments, love your phone calls, 612-294-6949. And if you have not checked us out at mnrealestateshow.com, that is our website. Tells you everything about the team, how it works, all of our incredible partners, and we, and if you're looking to sell, there's a new little tab we've got that gives you a valuation on your property that can either be done live by one of the agents, or you can actually just use the tool online. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, again, this is a show we've just loved doing over the years. We appreciate the support, listenership. It is informationally based. We obviously are a local real estate team, a local real estate broker. We help people buy and sell homes, but we do this show to provide really good information for people wherever you're at in the process. Maybe you're thinking of buying your first home. Maybe you've been renting forever. Maybe you've lived in your home for 40 years and you're thinking about downsizing. Again, we help people. The Minnesota real estate team helps people in all areas, all price ranges, types of properties, cabins, land, first-time home buyers, real estate investors. Scott, you were just talking this week about a land deal down south in south of the Twin Cities. So we do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. It was a 60-acre piece of land, and actually we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show because I ran into something that I never ran into before, which I didn't think was possible anymore, but it was true, and we worked through it. But I'll explain how that works. Before we get started with the actual content, we also had the golf tournament, the charity golf tournament on Thursday that Ryan puts on every year. That was a huge success. I think $27,000 gained for your charity. Yeah.
So every year we do with the team, the Minnesota real estate team, a charity golf event. This year, super great, Phil. We raised over $27,000 for our foundation called the O'Neill Foundation of Hope, which helps people in our communities in a variety of ways, whether it's through rental assistance, perhaps it's someone that's gone through a health issue, a tragedy, something where they need a little help. And through that foundation, Scott, our goal is to provide people the love, care, and support, and give them a little hope wherever they might be at. Our friend Kyle was at the event. He spoke as well.
Yeah, he was very inspiring. A young man has ALS, and somebody had broken and stolen his truck and his electronic wheelchair, which, I mean, geez, whatever. That's a whole nother topic. But anyways, so Ryan and the foundation stepped in, bought him a brand new wheelchair. He was there with his mom and his bulldog.
Yeah,
and spoke a little bit. Yeah, it was great. It was great to see that he got helped out and to actually see personally, what the foundation's doing for people. He was really touched.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott. Again, appreciate the support. First segment, we do an update, real estate, mortgage-wise. The short news with Mike Overson, Luminate Home Loans, is rates went up this week. You probably saw all the statistics, the highest levels in 20 years for mortgage rates, over sevens, low sevens, mid sevens range. And from a real estate standpoint, Scott, new listings in the Twin City metro area down 12% year over year. There were 1,400 new listings. Pending sales down 11%, so 11% less. Accepted purchase agreements, 1,039. And then the overall inventory of homes is still down 14%, 7,975. Limited inventory. Decrease in pending sales, Scott, not as significant as other points in the year, but it's the interest rates. That's what it is.
It absolutely is, and it's too bad because we were running about a 3 to 4 to 5 week run there where they had dropped into the kind of high sixes, and people were just kind of starting to feel, I think, that's where we're going to be. I mean, the days of 2.6%, 3%, that was a unicorn that comes around once every 100 years. We have had it. That's not going to happen anymore. And so anytime you have, a little drop in rates where people kind of get active and then you get another boom where it goes to 7.5, typically it freaks people out and there'll probably be a small pushback. But for the most part, guys, this is where we're going to be, high fives, low sixes, maybe is going to be our best rates. Maybe we hit that sometime in the next couple of years. I don't know. But for the most part, 6.5% to 7%, that's where rates are going to be.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of the new normal. A lot of people have been talking about, oh, rates are going to come down. Let's wait because rates are going to come down. There's really no indicators as we're hearing, talking to mortgage professionals in the community, talking to Mike Overson, his awesome team at Luminate Home Loans, Luminate Bank here in the Twin Cities. We did have a question, again, before the first break that came in via social media. We're actually streaming live on all the social media platforms as well. You can join us that way as well if you'd like. And the question on social media said, what's the difference between a home inspection and an FHA appraisal? And Scott, last week we had home inspector Steve Stalock on. So home inspectors coming in, the buyer is hiring that person, he or she, to come in to do a once over on the house, look at the property, check on the condition, see what's going on with it, and then providing that report for a fee to the buyer. FHA appraisal, that's the lender. That's FHA coming out and looking at generally safety related items to ensure that they can provide the loan. Scott, anything else I missed on it?
Yeah, no, but it's a very good question. I'm surprised we don't get it more because a lot of times clients always mix those up. You know, they'll use the term inspection when they mean appraisal. They'll use the term appraisal when they really mean inspection, and they are totally different. The inspector, like Ryan said, he's privately hired to represent you to go through the house and look for issues. The other one is completely different. It's the lender, in this case FHA. When they come in, they want to make sure that the home is at value. And then with FHA, just like VA, there are work orders that can be called. So stoops that are too high off the ground, missing handrails,
Peeling paint,
peeling paint, automatic garage doors that don't go up, and these safety issues. These are things that FHA are looking. So has nothing to do with the inspection. Totally different.
Yeah, great question. Appreciate it, Stephen, joining us on social media. You can join us too, 612-294-6949. Next weekend is the good old State Fair. We are going to be live at the State Fair. Looking forward to that and seeing so many great people at the fair as well. Again, anytime throughout the show, 612-294-6949. News Talk 830. This is WCCO. Thanks for joining us. Great question, Stephen. Brad, welcome to CCO.
Thank you. This is really exciting. You get the on-air sign behind you and everything. That's cool.
Oh, it is. You know, Brad and I, and Scott, we were talking before the show, and Brad said, insurance is kind of boring, but the reality of it, it's so important. You think about with the real estate transactions that we as agents and realtors do, I bet at least once a week, I have a call. Now with all the hail that happened, everybody's talking about hail. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, the storms that came through. I was so busy, and as you guys are talking about the rates going up, have kind of dropped the residential insurance policies coming through. So I've shifted to business, and I'm doing like 45 deals right now, trying to work those.
Wow.
So I had to create a system because that many leads is just way too much. But yeah, I mean, you add on the claims now. And I went out to a client's house and I helped them clear away the wood and the branches and that kind of stuff because they were just devastated. You can hear it in their voice that they're relieved that they have that policy
for sure
when that happens. So you're right. Insurance is very important. And just, hey, thank you to you for the foundation that you do and help people. Just another great reason to work with you guys.
We appreciate it. Thank you, Scott. I know you've had deals again. Set to close.
Yes.
The deal's set to close. The roof gets a lot of hail on it. What happens?
Well, I was just, when Brad was talking, it reminds me of the reason that I use Mike Overson as our lender. Obviously, you want what's best for your client. You want to have the best terms that you can have for your client, and you want the money to show up at closing, and you want little issues along the way. I give a loan to Mike. I don't hear anything until, hey, it's finally approved and we'll see it closing. That's what I look for in a lender. When you're working with somebody like Brad, where you're used to it being smooth, and now all of a sudden, and I won't name the company, but now all of a sudden it's just a normal sale in Savage, just a little split level, and it's been, we need this, we need to find out when the third owner did the roof, and I'm like, no, nobody knows that. I mean, it's just all this stuff, and so finally, they pulled it. It was a out of state, I don't know if it's the same, but it was an out of state insurance guy, and it was just a disaster. And so they flipped it, the dad flipped it to his guy, and it's done.
Yeah.
It's like when you go through that, that's why you use professionals like Brad and Mike. And
you see a lot of times, again, it's just like anything with when you are paying the lowest rate for something, generally you get what you pay for.
Yes.
And not that the most expensive is always the option, but people forget that, Brad, sometimes with your industry.
Yeah, I was cringing when you were telling that story because I've heard those horror stories before, and it just, when I first met you guys were telling me that I answer the phone. I actually answered the phone, and I thought, wow, well, that's kind of a weak compliment.
Kind of a low bar
to jump over. But I've heard some stories recently that one guy came to me because they didn't even return his call at all. He was asking to change some things in his policy, and they didn't even call him back.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. When my phone rings, I answer it, and agents are always like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for answering your phone." And it's the same as you. I'm like, really? Is that where we've got to where it's a home run if you actually just physically answer the phone for?
Right.
But it is true.
Well, and it's a service industry. It is a service industry, real estate, mortgage, and the simple phone. I think just with the tendency with social media and smartphones, just to email everything, to text everything. Sometimes a phone call is needed. And phone calls spark conversations, which can be the good thing.
Yeah, but personal connections out there. I mean,
here we go.
No,
we're going live back on air. Thanks for joining us. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for being here. Saturday, August 19th. Excited to be on News Talk 830 WCCO. Our third show here, the Minnesota Real Estate Show, has been active and on air here in the Twin Cities over 15 years. We are a local real estate team in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin that helps people buy homes, sell homes, invest in real estate. Speaking of invest in real estate, we had one of our seminars this past week, our Investment Property 101 seminar, where we teach people how to buy investment property, how to rent the investment property, and great turnout. Had a nice turnout from the seminar itself, people interested in it. And Scott, so that's what we're doing a lot of, are those seminars, first-time home buyer, investment property, to help people get information.
That's right. Well, like Ryan said, we get this question a lot. We've done this radio show forever, and every once in a while we'll have somebody that calls in that says, "Oh my gosh, we've listened to the show for 3 years, and my son just bought his first house. Thanks for all the information." And then, which of course we're excited that the son bought the first house, but I'll ask them, "Well, why didn't you use us if you listened to the show for 3 years, just out of curiosity?" And a lot of times it's, well, it was a $175,000 townhome. We didn't think that you guys would do that. Or no, that's what keeps the lights on, folks. I mean, of course, selling $2 million houses is great, but no, lots of 250 split levels, lots of $300,000 4 levels. So any price range, $50,000 condos, first time home buyer, or $5 million on a lake. We would love to help you out. And that's what we do.
Yeah. One of the things that we were talking about at the seminar was, the traditional investment properties as a landlord buying property, maybe fixing it up and renting it, or fixing it up and holding it as a rental. And then the recent trend in years with cabins, with properties up north, parts of Wisconsin, all over, where you see these rentals by the week, or these VRBOs, these Airbnbs. And there is a real market for that. There's a a lot of people that look for that. The important thing we talked about, guys, is you always have to check with the city to know what are the restrictions as far as the amount of time for rental. In other words, if you say, "Hey, I live in Andover and I want to buy an Airbnb," well, you need to check with the city and know, do they have a minimum amount of rental time? Because a lot of cities do now, because they don't want the turnover every week or so.
Yeah, and the other option of that, if you're a little bit more of a risk taker, is you can buy a property that's a little bit more secluded. Because the only time that you're going to get turned in for having people in there weekly is if you've got neighbors that are like, "Look, you're supposed to have it for 4 weeks, and you've done it for 20 weeks or whatever the number is." But if you're isolated and it's just you, there's nobody that's going to complain, so no one's going to know. And those normally work well for an Airbnb as well.
Yeah, also associations too. If you're
Yes.
buying, we've got some folks that have bought a lot of townhomes, condos as rentals. And again, right now, I mean, again, with interest rates in the sevens, a lot of people are renting for a variety of reasons. Scott and I were just talking about an agent on the team who the financing, they were using an outside lender. The financing ended up falling apart. The lender maybe didn't do a lot of due diligence up front, and their debt to income ratio, you said, was like 60%.
60% on the front, and then even worse on the back. So almost like 75%. And so the bottom line is this should have never gotten through purchase agreement. You know, if the lender, in this case, again, out of state lender, everybody knows the name. If they would have done any due diligence whatsoever, just ran a debt to income ratio calculator, it would have shown that they're completely out of it. And so, of course, we had them flip over to Mike. Mike took a look at it in 10 minutes and just said, you know, unfortunately, guys, you're not even close. So you just sucked 2 months out of a buyer's life. You got a seller that's now packed up. They've got all their staging out of the property. Everything is done because they're going on the good faith that this lender says it's going to close. And now you got a debacle. And that's what you want to avoid.
Well, and that's hard to understand. Again, as a buyer or seller, you're thinking about, well, I don't get that. Why would that happen? It is the importance of the really good agent, really good broker, real estate broker, mortgage professional as well, to guide you through that transaction. That is a critical piece of this puzzle because, Brad, again, with real estate, it's, you know, just because they say, hey, I'm going to buy your house in a month, that doesn't mean the thing always happens. That doesn't mean it always closes. You need a pro to kind of guide you through the process.
Yeah, Scott was talking about that process, you know, the 11th hour, having something happen on the 11th hour. Those are, you know, you're all excited about moving in, and the people are excited about moving on with their lives, and it all falls apart because of something that happened at the 11th hour.
Yeah, again, you can call us, text us anytime. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us here at CCO. We are live. Had a text come in. Good morning. Does your firm help seniors preparing for downsizing? We have years of furniture stuff we could not take with us. How do you get rid of all this before the move? Thanks, Kathy. I have a thought, and then I know you do as well.
I think we have the same thought.
Yeah,
It's, what's the name of it?
Yeah, so this at our golf tournament, we had one of the folks that supported us is called Two Dames and Friends.
They do great.
Tracy, who's the owner of the company, just a wonderful, very good-hearted person. What she does is we bring Tracy and team in to help sit down with you, talk through the process a little bit, identify how do you get rid of some of those things. And absolutely, you know, we work with a lot of seniors from a downsizing perspective. And I think, Scott, the biggest thing over the years is we're just very low sales pitch about it. It's helping through the process on your timeline.
Yeah, and normally what we suggest is if you leave your phone number, we'll follow up with you. An agent will coordinate it, get them out there, go through the house, find out what you want to keep, what you want to get rid of. They schedule it. They do just a great job.
Yeah, we appreciate. Hey,
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, Mary. Appreciate you listening, or Kathy. Sorry. Hope you're having a great weekend. We do appreciate you listening to the show. Had another text come in. This one says that I've heard that listings are down because of high interest rates. People not selling because they don't want to buy a new home with high rates. Is that true? That is true. Yep, that is true. A lot of people that maybe bought during COVID don't need to sell right now. They've got a low rate, and so they are in that home. They're not selling. A lot of the transactions, Scott, we're seeing in this market are maybe not so happy. Divorce, death, relocation. First-time homebuyers happy, but it's more of that stuff.
Yeah, it is. It kind of said it. The fun in real estate. Obviously, there's still people that are saying, "Hey, we want a bigger house." And
You're fun.
Yeah, but the fun in real estate has kind of disappeared. Meaning, hey, let's get a bigger house, or hey, let's move to this city, or whatever. Right now, it is more what you have to do. Like
Necessity.
Brian said, necessity real estate. We're moving out of state. We got to sell. We're gonna downsize because all our kids are gone, so we're just gonna do it. Or we're relocating. We're going through a divorce. Outside of that, there's not a lot moving.
Here's the interesting thing though, is even with that, with rates being again in the sevens, because we have a shortage of inventory. Back when we did this real estate show in the late 2000s, there were 36 36,000 homes for sale in the Twin Cities. 36. Right now there's 7. That's 1/5. So what that means for any potential seller is there's not many of them out there. And so even with rates in the 7s, there is still a strong buyer demand. And that's why prices haven't fallen 500 and under. There's those buyers, Scott.
Oh no, it so the beginning of last year was the best sellers real estate market we've ever had in history. First 4 months of last year, it's never gotten better than that. This is number 2. This is literally the second best sellers market that we've ever seen. Don't get tricked by your eyes saying, well, last year every single home that went on in our neighborhood sold in the first 2 days and had 25 offers on it. That's probably true. That's not happening right now, mostly because of 2 things. One, buyers are a little bit more cautious. And secondly, sellers are chasing a number that is no longer realistic. And so the combination of those 2 things, well, last year my neighbor's house sold for 525, so I want to sell mine for 600. And then it sits for 60 days because it's not worth 600.
Yeah, again, really good stuff. Appreciate all the texts coming in. You're always welcome to call 261-294-6949. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Again, every Saturday, 11 o'clock to 12 noon. We appreciate you listening. Don't ever hesitate to reach out. This is News Talk 830 WCCO. Thanks for the questions, comments, thoughts. Scott, Brad, good point. This is people think they get kind of freaked out with rates in the 7, but we need more sellers. Sellers.
When you're talking about downsizing, you got to check with your insurance agent, Brad Sanford, Farmers Insurance.
Yes.
But your home policy will cover a storage unit. So if you're moving stuff to a storage unit in between, I just had a client that she downsized from her home in Minnetonka, and she's going to be going into an apartment, but she's living with her daughter in the meantime. So in order to have coverage for that personal property, we started her rental coverage early so that it would cover all of the personal property.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And I don't think most people know that.
No. So
yeah, good stuff.
Yep.
Really good stuff. Hope your weekend's going well. Next Saturday, we are going to be at the fair, State Fair. I don't know if we're going to stream it. We'll have to figure that out. Haven't quite figured that one out. But regardless, it'll be fun to be at the fair.
It will be.
If you're out, feel free to stop over. Say hi to us. Josh, of course, does an awesome job. He'll be helping us out at the fair as well. Brad, you going to the fair?
Yeah, I've gone a couple times.
Ooh.
What is my hour time slot on Saturday? Where am I coming in that live show?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
We got you coming.
That's our idea, wasn't it?
Yeah, anytime you want.
That's fun, man.
Yeah, the last time we did it was so when we start the show, 2005.
Yes.
So it would have probably been the August of 2006, probably.
Yes.
And we were with a different station then.
Maybe not bad, but not known really.
Yeah, not as well known as WCCO, but they were pretty well known. But anyways, it was just a really, really small studio. It was hot in there. Nobody was there. And I'm like, this is the last time I'm ever doing the state fair.
We were in a booth, like a plexiglass booth, and it was way off the walking path too. So it was like we were sitting in like this ice house talking about real estate with plexiglass. We're like, what are we doing?
And this little boy came up and he just threw his ice cream at our glass. And I'm like, all right, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. People are heckling us and throwing stuff at us.
People were like, all right, that's enough. Had enough of that. But after the break, we're going to talk a little bit, dive into Brad's segment as well. Have a couple listings to feature as well as we move forward through the rest of the year. As Scott said, I think interest rates are just going to kind of be where they are. Rents are still expensive. We're still seeing a lot of rental demand in the Twin Cities. Landlords filling properties quickly. A lot of new buildings going up, multifamily buildings. Everything's $2,000 plus to rent in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, it is just crazy the amount of huge. I'm not talking about 60-unit apartment complexes. I'm talking 300-400 unit everywhere.
Yeah,
and they are. A little studio is $1,700. A one bedroom is $2,200 and up, and they're filling them up. I do not understand it.
It is a little unusual, hard to figure out sometimes. 612-294-6949. Brad Sanford, yes. Farmers Insurance. Nice work, young man.
Thanks.
We're getting ready to go back live on air for the second half of the show. There was no response
No, there
there.
was-
Well,
We
nice
used to-
work. What do you say?
We used to do that back in the day when Ryan would be like, so what do you have to say about that, Scott? Oh,
Yeah, that's
Nice
always good
work.
radio
that's nothing.
when there's just no response.
You're not going to the fair. It's good work, man.
Here we go. We're going back live on CCO. Hey, welcome back to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Appreciate you joining us. As always, 612-294-6949. This is a local real estate show. We always welcome your calls, your text messages at any time throughout the show. We've got Brad Sanford, Farmers Insurance, Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans. Mike Overson, by the way, in Luminate, they are a local bank. They just a great group of folks led by Taryn Reuter and Eric Lovins, local bank. Scott, our team, the Minnesota Real Estate team, has worked with them for a very long time, almost 20 years now. Very reputable with all the real estate brokers in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Obviously, from a client perspective, we use Mike and his team because they're incredible. He was loan officer of the year last year. I mean, they do an incredible job. Money's there, processes and everything are squared away. And secondly, people are treated the way they should be. I mean, it's it's one of those things where we sell houses every day. Mike does loans every day. It's hard to put yourself in the situation of someone to understand that this is the most important thing going on in their lives. I mean, getting the loan is the most important thing going on in their lives. Buying that house or selling that house is the most important thing. And to always keep your mindset in place that, hey, we do it all the time. These people do not.
Yeah. Before we chat a little more with Brad Sanford, Farmers Insurance, did want to touch on a listing. Mr. Bryce Schenke with the Minnesota Real Estate Team and Remax Advantage Plus. He has one listed for $950,000, and it is, Scott, it's in Eden Prairie, 4-bed, 4-bath, 3-car garage home, custom built. It's in the Winfield neighborhood. It's got 4,350 finished square feet. It's got a private lot, a pond, and wooded view. And again, spacious open floor plan, floor to ceiling windows, large center island, inviting sunroom. It's got an amazing backyard and a large deck and an in-ground pool as well. $950,000 for the price of that property. Again, 18697 Aaron Bay in Eden Prairie. Nice property, Scott.
Yeah, I know the area well. It's a great property, and Bryce is a great agent, so I'm sure it is marketed and priced correctly. So yeah, take a look at it.
Yeah, again, we got some callers coming in here too. You're always welcome. 612-294-6949. Call and text. Brad Sanford, Farmers Insurance. You are a long-time partner with. Actually, we are going to go to. We're going to go next to Frank. Frank is in Minneapolis. Thanks for calling the Minnesota Real Estate Show. How? Yeah, right now we are in the low to mid sevens, Frank. So we are in the low to mid sevens for that interest rate. So they have risen, of course. And there was a news article that came out this week that they said that was the highest rate in the last 20 years. Yep. So what you would do, for example, is Mike Overson, Mike, who is the lender partner with our show, where he would look at directly your situation. So income, assets, debt to income, et cetera. And then depending upon your unique situation, then he would quote you a rate. And so that's what the lenders a lot of times do, is there isn't sort of one, there's a range, but there isn't sort of one automatically that he could, for example, give you right on air.
So, for example, you might have you might have a 650 credit score and your rate might be 7.5. You might have an 800 credit score and your rate would be 7 1/8, just because you're a stronger buyer.
As far Yeah, I think, again, I think probably what we would do is I think probably what we would do, Frank, is I'm going to have Mike give a call to you directly here after the show, because it is, Scott, like you said, it's kind of a unique situation and it can be hard, especially like that. But we really appreciate you listening to the show. Scott, thoughts to add on?
Yeah,
that?
no, I think that's exactly right. But yeah, somewhere in that range. It just depends on the strength of the file. And to answer your question on the Biden situation, if you're talking about the extra fee that you would pay because you have an 800 credit score versus somebody that has a lower fee, unfortunately, that is in play.
Everybody's
doing it. And,
everybody's paying.
And what is disheartening about it is, well, whatever. It is what it is. It's in place. So you're correct. Yeah, you will be paying a little bit higher rate than your friend with a little lower credit score.
Yeah, thanks for listening to the show, though. We appreciate it. Hope that was helpful for you. Definitely can have Mike give you a call just to chat a little bit more off air. Brad, Sanford Farmers Insurance. What's going on in the insurance world as it relates to real estate?
I gotta say, I'm like a kid in a candy store with in a juggernaut like WCCO Radio 830, and I got the on-air button and all that.
Right.
What's going on is that the rates going higher is really slowing everybody down. And then on the other side, insurance carriers are raising their rates because of all the losses that they've had. So they're non-renewing people because trees are touching a house and that kind of stuff instead of having a conversation with them. So it's out there. It's heavy out there. You got to really be on your toes, and you got to be contacting your insurance agent and making sure everything's.
Yeah, again, a lot of activity coming in by phone, text, email. We appreciate that at any point. We've got one as well, a comment that came in that says Western Wisconsin buyer and seller appointments have been picking up over the last four months. Mike Hilber sent this in, a great agent on the Minnesota real estate team. He said the team's agents licensed in Wisconsin have been pretty busy over there lately. Price points across the river tend to run less, more bang for your buck, he says, over in Western Wisconsin, Scott.
I would totally agree with that. Yeah. And there's been a push that direction, since COVID hit. A lot of people are working from home. They have the option of living at their lake home. I've had a couple of clients that we've sold their house here and they just moved into their lake home in Wisconsin, and both husband and wife can, work from home. So yeah, it's a little cheaper over there. I shouldn't say cheaper. It's a little less expensive over there. And the commute's not that bad.
Yeah, it is. It is. Brad, for people, again, with your agency, tell people a little bit who you are, how you're helping people in our market.
Well, I just, we have a listener, Greg and Yvonne. I just met with them in Ham Lake last week, and we went through the process of making sure the coverage on their cars was correct, making sure that if they had the protection for the personal injury, you're insuring someone else if you hit them, but you're only covering yourself for $20,000, not stacking the cars and adding more coverage. So that's another additional thing that we can do at the Sanford Insurance Agency. And then we got into the home, and the public records is what most carriers outside of Minnesota go by. And that information is not always correct. So we went through all the information, got it set perfectly, and they are now clients of the Brad Sanford Insurance Agency. So
nice.
The farmers in Arden Hills.
Yeah, very cool. Before the break as well, had one other listing to touch on as well. Deb Lazinski, an awesome agent with the Minnesota real estate team, Remax Advantage Plus. She has one actually in Hudson. Speaking of over the river, 1110 10th Street North in Hudson. 5-bed, 4-bath. It's a 2-story, almost 4,000 finished square feet. And it's a 2006 custom built by Derek Homes for $625,000. The seller is offering a contract for deed, however, Scott, at 5.5% interest rate. The open house is tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 1. That contract for deed. That's a great one, Deb.
Yeah, the longer rates kind of stay up there. We are going to see a portion of the market offering contract for deeds because you can make if you've got your house paid for. And you don't need to have the cash. Somebody else can come in, buy it on a contract for deed, give you a couple $100,000 down. You finance it as the bank, and you make 5.5% on your money. Or 6%. You could do 6%, right? You could do 6.5% right now.
Usually, yeah.
You're still a point to point and a half below what normal rates are. So it's an advantage to the buyer. They get a little bit better rate. It's an advantage to the seller because where can you make 6% on your money? not very many places. So it's good.
Yeah, one thing to be aware of with a contract for deed is, again, there is an actual closing that takes place, and both the buyer and the seller have ownership rights still. In other words, there's a closing, there's a down payment given by the buyer, the seller is acting as the bank, and then the buyer pays the seller off over time, usually a 3-year, 5-year, at the end of that, getting a loan, for example, maybe with Mike Overson and his team, to pay that lump sum off. And the buyer has to be sure credit is in line at that time in order to buy. And that's what people forget a lot of times with contract for deed guys.
Yeah, my advice typically when I'm on the seller side, contract for deeds are great for sellers. There are people that make a very, very good living doing nothing but contract for deeds on their property. In my opinion, except for very, very rare circumstances, if you are a buyer and you need to do a contract for deed, you're better off just renting until the issues for why you cannot do a normal loan are gone. Because the risk is, like Ryan said, you put $150,000 in on a 2-year contract for deed, and guess what? At the end of the 2 years, you can't do that end loan. Guess what? You lose all the money that you put in and the down payment.
We're going to go quick to a caller here before the break. Mike, thanks for calling the Minnesota Real Estate Show. How can we best help?
Treasury bills now. I had some rental properties. I sold them, so I'm sitting on a good amount of cash, and I got a couple people tell me that you can do short-term ones, like 6 weeks, all the way to a few months. And so, is that something that's hard? Because what I'm hearing is you can put in, let's say $100,000, maybe get 5,000 back at the end of the couple months. And my next question is, besides that, if interest rates keep going up, does that mean?
Thanks for calling. Maybe what we'll do is right after the break, we'll hit that. I know we're up against our final break here. We can talk more about that. Again, Josh is busy, but this is WCCO. Sorry, we got a lot of activity going on here today. I'm just Josh is doing a great job getting a hold of everyone. Brad, thoughts?
So the question was, I think what he's talking about is it a time if you got some liquid cash where you can make money doing hard money? I think is what he's talking about. I don't think he's talking about financing properties.
He's just talking about return on investments more so.
Okay. And if you're talking about doing hard money loans, which is what you just described, you're going to give somebody $50,000 for 6 weeks, and they're going to give you your $50,000 back plus $7,500 or $5,000. So it's a big return because it's a riskier loan. There's a reason that somebody that's borrowing $50,000 from you cannot go to a bank and get $50,000. So because of that, that's why as a hard money lender, you make more money. I believe that's what he's talking about. As far as treasury bills and things like that, out of my league.
Maybe we can hit it after the break too. Brad, what else? Last thoughts for people in our final segment of the show here?
Well, so I was going to ask you guys, I had a question from some prospects, Heather and Mark. They live in Blaine. They moved to a home that had a little bit of acreage. And the previous mayor of Blaine told me that every piece of land in Blaine is sold. It's just a matter of whether they develop it. And if they don't develop it, they're selling to someone else, right? And so they're wondering, is the best bet for them to take the market that's raised right now and take the price, or wait for the developer to buy their land? Which one is going to be a better deal for them?
Scott, what do you think?
Well, I got a couple thoughts. If they've already allocated that this builder is going to be able to, or this developer is going to be able to buy those properties, then typically there's already assignment of value on that property, because or else how could they guarantee that he could buy all the properties? And so I guess I would find that out. First of all, is there a number? And if there's a number, and he has rights to buy it, can they even sell their property?
Question.
I mean, because or else how could they have guaranteed this developer the right to be able to buy all the property? The other thing I'm unclear on is I'm not aware, except in very unique situations of like Minneapolis and where there's transportation going through or whatever, where you can ever have a homeowner have limited rights to their property where they have to sell it. So yeah, it seems a little strange, but beyond that, normally there's more value in the developer paying you for your building or your property than it would be for you selling normally.
Yeah, it is. It's a really good question. A lot of places there is no land, as you're describing in a lot of these cities. That's been with the urban sprawl that happened during COVID, with people kind of sprawling, moving out a little bit. Yeah, it's been busy, guys. A lot going on. Josh is doing a great job taking callers, texters to 612-294-6949. We're getting ready to go back for our final segment here on air on News Talk 830 WCCO. Appreciate you joining us every Saturday. We're going to be at the fair next weekend. Should be a lot of fun. Here we go, Brett. Here we go, Scott. Hey, welcome back to the final segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We are super grateful you're joining us. It's been a really busy show with a lot of calls and texts. We'll always try to do our best to get to answer that for you. And sometimes we may need to chat a little bit off air with our lender or one of the partners just to best help you. Mike had called. He was asking about a lot of kind of returns on different things. Treasury bills, some of the different things that are out there. And I think probably what I would like to do, Mike, is we've got a great partner with our show, a guy named Adam Hartung. Adam really has all the investment stuff dialed in because, in the short answer is you've probably noticed with the rise in interest rates, all the banks are paying more from a savings standpoint. There's a lot of banks that are paying 4% on savings. 4.5%. A lot of people are talking about treasury bills, some of these different things. That is the one positive with the rise in rates, is that a lot of people with savings are seeing that. I would like Adam Hartung, though, maybe to chat a little bit more with you on that, Scott.
Yeah, no, I agree. And if you were, the other part of your question, I think you were talking about doing some hard money short-term loans. So an individual that maybe has some issues with credit or something else, comes and they take a short-term loan. They need $25,000 for 6 weeks. You loan them the 25 grand. At the end of the 6 weeks, they give you their 25 grand back plus 5. So it's a very big return because it's a higher risk situation. I've got a lot of buddies that make a very, very good living at doing just that. And I think that's what your question was.
Yeah. And again, we appreciate you joining us. 612-294-6949. Another text question that just asked, for any first-time home buyers, are there incentives out there? There absolutely are a lot of really good incentives for first-time buyers. Each month, we do a free informational seminar in Bloomington on buying your first home. We stream it as well on the Minnesota Real Estate Team's Facebook page. And in that seminar, Mike Overson, Luminate Bank, Luminate Home Loans, and Charlie Limer talk about some of those incentives. There's some state down payment assistance programs. There's some county programs. There's some city programs. There are a lot of good resources out there, Scott, that an agent, a top agent with their loan officer, with him or her, should be able to plug their client into.
Yeah.
And it's really important to take advantage of those.
Yeah, no, there is. I mean, and again, with the market loosening, I should say, tightening up a little bit, where there's not 25 offers on every home that's on, then you're able to get some FHA offers through and some down payment assistance programs through, where, a year ago that was impossible. You're not going to compete against 30 offers when, half of them are cash and the other 30% or 20% down and be able to do that. But in this market, you can't.
Yeah, just had a nice text as well from a listener who talked about, we featured a listing last weekend on the show. Dan Frank had, he did a great job marketing the property. The property was listed at $375. And the seller said in the first 2 days, we did have 19 showings and 10 offers, and settled on a purchase price of $420,000.
Nice.
So 14% more than the list price. Scott, the importance of pricing. Had that seller put it at $450,
it would be sitting there and they would have got 5% less than they did.
But why? Why not just put it at $450 and just, what? The market's going to get what it's going to get.
Well, there's a couple of different reasons. First of all, people are competitive at nature. I mean, that's the bottom line. And And when it's a weird human nature thing, but when you find out that 10 other people have written on this offer, even though that, or this house, even though that should freak you out because there's 10 offers, somewhere internally you feel better because you're like, okay, everybody wants this house and we really want it. And you feel good about putting your money out there. Where if this house is on at 450 and it's been sitting for 60 days, now you go in, it's the same house. But you go in going, well, wait a minute, nobody else wants this house. Why is it sitting there? What mistake are we making? What are we missing? What are the issues? And that's what every other buyer is doing. They're going through that mental thing, and you end up with way less for your house. Get people competitive, price it correctly, and you'll be happy and you'll move on with your life.
Brad, before the end of the show, again, really appreciate you being a partner with the Minnesota Real Estate Team and the Minnesota Real Estate Show. I encourage listeners, whether it's, again, home, auto, life, whatever kind of insurance, just to talk to you, get an assessment where things are at with what's going on.
And internally ask yourself, is insurance an expense or is it a way to protect your assets? And I think that's the conversation where it needs to start. And once you start there, you're going to get the right coverage for you and your home, your cars, all that stuff.
Yeah, fellow agents listening, real estate agents, buyers, sellers in our market. Brad, best way for people to touch with you and your agency if they are interested, they want to learn more.
You know, I was always shocked when you said that I answer the phone, but that is one of the best ways to call me, 651-690-2076, or the Minnesota Real Estate Show. I'm under the insurance tab.
Yeah, mnrealestateshow.com.
Yeah, again, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us really at any point throughout the week. We're grateful that you've been listening to the show. Brad, awesome job as always. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for your great work. We're grateful for you.
I'm excited to be part of the team.
Yeah, and Scott, last thoughts for us?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think as I'm listening to some of the calls that come in and some of the texts that we get, I can't stress in this market to really hire a good real estate agent, whether you're selling or you're buying. And the one thing we don't talk a lot about, but new construction, if you are building new construction, definitely use a buyer agent to represent you.
Yeah, thanks again, everybody, for joining us on the Minnesota Real Estate Show every Saturday, 11 a.m. to 12 noon. We're here to help you if you're buying a home, selling, investing in real estate. Please don't ever hesitate to reach out to the Minnesota Real Estate Team. We want to be a resource for you. We're always here to help. We'll see you at the fair next weekend. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Busy show, a lot of phone calls, texts. Scott and Brad, great job, guys.
Yeah, you too.
you. It was
Thanks,
fun.
guys.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. We'll be back. A big thanks to Josh as well for keeping things organized in here. We'll see you next weekend at the fair.